Bava, basra, daf kuf mem beis amar aleph. We're starting from the third line, from the top. Domer Rav Nachman. Okay. Domer Rav Nachman that said, so the Gemara is bringing a mucker to the Shita of Rav Huna, who says that one cannot be mezakeh to a uber, even if he says, I'm being mezakeh to the uber that the kinya should happen when he's uber, but the schia should happen when he likish a teled. So Rav Huna says, even in such a case, it's not going to be a kinya.
By saying that the kinya should happen now?
Because he wants to bring out that it's shaykh to be mezakeh for uber. But how do you do it? You make the kinyan till later, right? But at least the kinyan happened already from before. You'll see chilukim if why it makes a difference. So Rav Huna says in such a case, it's still it's not good because at the time of the akna, so we're looking for a makkah. We're looking for a makkah. Why? What's his reason? So we said yesterday because there's a chsar in the hakna and the b'shas hakna, there's nobody to be mekabel matana. Right? He's not the one that's Makabal Atana. He's not here. He's not in the world at the time of the Ma'aseh Knah. So there's nothing there's nothing to make the kinyan. Okay, Zak the Gemara Dom Rav Nachman, and so the Gemara now brings a makkah. Dom Rav Nachman Nam Zaklu Beleikana. One who's Mezakeh for but he's not kind of Likishatele.
Oh, so the same thing like Karpuna, no?
We're going to get this three shitas Likishatele. But if he says that I want, he should be zechet when he's born in this world in the Avraham Ilam. Kana it's a kinyan. That's the Tanakh. No, Rav Huna argues. Rav Huna says even though the schia is going to happen only when he gives birth, but at the time of the akna, at the time of the kinyan, there was no mekabel matana to make the keepers of this kinyan, so it's no kinyan. Whether he's makna to the Ummah on the condition that he should be zeichit while he's over, whether he's being maknit that he should be zeichit when the wife will give birth to this child, kana it's a kinyan. He says it's even a kinyan while it's in the mother's stomach. Rav Sheshes is the real chiddush. Amar Rav Sheshes. So Rav Sheshes says, "I'll bring you a raya." Huh? No, I mean, yeah. From where do I know to say this? Where's my raya? That time we learned from the Brayse Ger. Shemeis below Yarshim Yeduim. A ger that had died without knowing Yarshim. Ubizbuz Yisrael as Nechasim. They looted his Nechasim because he's a ger. Doesn't have it says a ger that's born. It's Kikatnu Shnei He has no Yarshim, right? So since he has no yashim, so you can loot it. Free for all. And then they heard he has a son. Oh, so they heard that he has a wife that's pregnant. Those that had looted his fields have to return it. If they returned everything, if they're returning everything, then they heard that the son died, or the baby in the mother's stomach was a miscarriage. So then, those that were matzik the second time around, they were kind of. The first ones that made that chazaka are not kind of. First ones went and looted the guy's stuff, the gay stuff. Then they heard that he has uba. We're going to stick to the yeah. The wife is pregnant, so they have to give it back. Then what happened? They heard that it's a neifel. So we say, and then a second group came and grabbed it. So we said the second group was pregnant, not the first. So says now, if you're going to think uba is not a kinyan, right? So why should the ones the second ones be kainet? The first ones who made a chazaka in this guy's in the gay's field should be kainet.
They were kainet right away, right?
They were kainet right away, and you're gonna tell me it's a neifel that was kainet. You're saying it's not kainet, and the neifel died later. Even if before it died, there was no kinyan to the nefel.
Because he said before that if she's pregnant, then they have to return the first group.
Right. So why should they have to return it
If you say
if it was a nefel, or if they did return it, they should get it. It should be theirs because it turned out. So why should the second group be kinyan? The first group should be
Go back
kinyan
to the first.
because the first group made a kinyan while it was a uber, and a uber is not a kinyan, and it became a nefel. It should be theirs. They're already massing it once before
Beginning, yeah.
at the beginning. And the Gemara took to Abai said, "Yerusha above shiny." Yeah, the reason why the uber is going to be kinyan, it's a Yerusha. It's not you being makna, and there has to be a kinyan, somebody to be makabelet. Yerusha automatically goes, so that's why the uber was
Why do you
kinyan.
have a meaning that you
So
have
if
to
the
get
uber is
in?
kaina 1 minute, so they couldn't. So the first ones that made a chazaka were talking that kaina, because there was a uber to be yerush it. The uber is
How does
through
this-
Yerusha
How does that Yerusha disappear later?
because it
the
turned
Nagel-
into a navel. Yeah,
So therefore you say the Yerusha
The-
is
the- this- yeah, because only a yerush is only after it's a ben agiloi. That's what it says. Rabba says no. Shiny Hassan there, it's different. He says Rabba says we're not mechalik between Yerusha and Matana. He says one who's mezaka for Uba is a kinyan, right? It is going to be a kinyan. You can't prove either way. You can't prove nothing. Why?
What's the Lashon Derafe?
Shiny Hassan there, it's different. The Rapyon Vidayu Meikara. Over there, when those that made the chazaka to make a kinyan and the ger's kaka, they didn't do it wholeheartedly because they thought maybe there's a Yiddish, maybe the wife has a son, maybe the wife is
You want
pregnant.
to make sure that if there is, then they're
So,
in the
but
first place.
and they grabbed it. They but they didn't make. There was no geminas das. It wasn't with to be machzikit legamri because they had all these fakers in their head. Maybe she has. Maybe the ger has a Yiddish, maybe a baby or pregnant. So Dafkin by the second one, when they saw that the baby was a nafel and it died, so now they were sure. So that second group who made the chazaka was with a geminas das, was with avadoyus. That was done with avadoyus, so therefore it's going to be a kinyan. What's the difference between Rav and Abaya? What's the chiluk if you say, okay, the reason why they weren't kinyan because Yerusha is automatic, so therefore Uba could be kinyan by Yerusha. And that's what the Rav Abaya said, right? And Abaya explained that's why the first group wasn't kainait. According to the second one, why wasn't the first group kainait? Because they weren't sure. It wasn't done with a geminas das. It wasn't done with avados. What's the chiluk? Anthony, what do you mean? The chiluk is sheshama by shemeis, beloy meis, hakach meis. They heard that the Uber was that they died, and it really didn't die. It was alive. So if you go according to the one that says that Uber Abaya, so the first ones that made a chazaka is worthless because it didn't die. It didn't die. If it didn't die, you can't make a chazaka on an Uber that was Yiddish. You understand? Because there's a Yiddish. Because the game.
So the first group heard that the new
Right. But if Belay Mace and then Achakach Mace and then it died. At the end it died. But at the time when they grabbed it, the first ones grabbed it, it was still alive. So according to Abaya, there was no king. You couldn't make a king because the Uber is the Yiddish. But according to Rava, that he said the Uber cannot yashin, right? There's no king for him. But we're gonna say he's gonna say well, at that time they did it with avados because they heard that it died, even though it didn't die at that, and only later. But we say they did it with avados, so there it's gonna be a kinyan according to Rava for the first
There
group.
would be a difference.
Yeah, for the Rava will be a kinyan for the first group according to Bayer. Well,
If they heard that
yeah. Tashma, come in here and I'll bring you a right in the Mishnah. To be machriya benegay to benegay is chiyaluba tinik ben yoymechad, a child that's 1 day old. The halacha is noichel. The child 1 day old could inherit, umanchel, and it could bequeath to its relatives. Why? Sheben yoym
how
echad.
does the child that's 1 day all bequeath with relatives?
He dies and automatically goes to the brothers.
But he didn't do anything.
He doesn't have to. Okay.
What's the lotion of manchel that he doesn't?
Okay,
Like a
bequeaths
like a
automatically. Yep. Shaben Yom Echad in. You say only if it was a ben that was a day in the meaning that he was in this world in the Avra Ha'ila.
Yeah.
Ubar life, but from here we imply as a ubar, it's before it's in the Avra Ha'ila. It's not Yiddish. So you see,
It's not Yiddish and it's not manchel.
so you see, ubar is not zoicha even by Yerusha. Okay, from this it says only ben yoimai, only if it's a day in this world and it dies, so it's noichel and it's manchel. It can be yoidish, it can inherit, and then it can be bequeathed. But from that the you can learn how to ubaloi. So is akasha and the Gemara Hamar Rav Shesha so noichel b'nisa. We're talking about that he is inheriting the nechasim of his mother. And his father married a second time, and he's inheriting the mother from a different marriage. Okay,
Well, whatever, it's the mother's.
it's the mother, but he has brothers from the same father. But it's this mother is
This
not
Yerusha comes from the mother's side.
from the mother's side, which the
There's
other
no
brothers don't have a shaykhs to that mother.
Because maybe he divorced her already.
No, she was married from before and had this boy.
Oh, this wasn't a boy from this
No,
marriage?
no. So he says Nechel Nichsa'im, he inherits the Nichsa'im, and also Lahanchel, in order to, if he dies, La'ach Mina'af, to the brothers from the father's side, who the sons are of a different woman, it's the same father. The father was married twice. Father was married to one mother, Rivka, and had one child, Reuven. Then the father divorced that one, Rivka, and married Leah, and had 5 children. Rivka passed away, so Reuben inherits from Rivka, right? And then Reuben passes away, he can be bequeathed to his half brothers because it's the same father.
So they have a right. Don't
No,
right to the, who passes away now? Reuben?
Reuben.
They have a right
brother.
to the first wife.
The brother passes.
That only through the son. They don't have a right to the first mother. They have nothing to do with the
So,
first mother.
the brother Reuben dies.
Yes.
So why is his brothers and the father from a different wife?
Right. So it gets
Why they-
bequeathed
why
to
they
them.
why they have a right?
That's the case. So he
What's
said,
the right? What right do they have to that?
why not? It's a half a brother. He can give it to. He can be manchel to them.
Manchel or they're Yoshin?
He can be manchel. It's
It's
considered their Yerushin. It's Yaakov married Rivka and Leah. Yaakov married. Huh?
No, Yaakov is good.
Okay, so one father he married Rivka or Rachel and Leah. Yaakov had from Rachel Yosef,
Yeah.
and then he had from Leah
Reuben, Shimon,
Reuben,
Levi.
Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Okay, Yosef died. So if Yosef dies, I mean, first Rachel died, then Yosef was born. He was one ben Yoma, and then he died.
Yeah.
Yosef is manchel to the brothers
Okay. No,
of
Because there's nobody else around.
right. He has no other children.
There's no family. You mean?
Right. Dafke ben Yemach. Dafke if it's a child that came into this world. Aval uba loy. But if it's a uba, if it was a uba that died, he doesn't.
If he died when he
if
was still in
the mother in the mother's womb, the mother died first, and then the uba. So then the uba cannot be quitted to the half of
What
brothers.
do you mean the mother died? When was he an Uber? But he died
she
when the
was
mother
dead.
when the mother-
Yeah.
And then
Right.
he came out.
Yeah.
When she was dead already.
He was dead too.
He came out dead.
Yeah. So the Gemara
Maybe
wants
he
to
was
know.
dead inside.
Okay, that's what we're talking about. That he died after. Okay, so the Gemara
He
look.
died when he came out.
When he came out, he was dead. We're soon going to explain it. Look inside. So the Gemara says, "Avoba loy." As a uba, he cannot be quitted. In fact, the Gemara might time why don't we say that the uba inherited while it was in the mother's stomach, right? Like a regular Yiddish.
And then.
And he bequeathed it to the brothers. Why can't he bequeath it to the brothers? Says Gemara, it's impossible. The who ma'is bereisha, he had to die first, because a woman who dies naturally and has and she's pregnant, the baby dies first. That's what he says. Mishum sha'uba meis tchila. Shekein hametzias b'movedes shemeisa shela'olam yamas ubra lefnei tzeis nishmasa. The ubra will die before the mother dies.
Why do you say that?
That's the halacha. That's what it says.
That's
That's not the
the
halacha.
mitzias?
That's the
Is that a
mitzius. Yes. It says Yimara v'dinhu she'ein haben yodesh es imay ba'keva. And the din is that the bain cannot inherit the mother while he's dead in the keva,
Well, she's dead.
to bequeath it to the brothers, to half brothers. The only time that a yodesh ba'keva could bequeath to the family if it's their own children. But to bequeath it to half brothers, that's a limud we had before. That ain't mes ba'keva manchel. It cannot be manchel.
Why is he called
To
a mes
another
b'keva?
family.
What's a mes b'keva?
That the baby died, and then the mother died, right?
I don't know.
If the baby...
When did the baby die?
Okay, so we're saying that, let's say the mother would have died first, and then the baby died in the mother's womb.
Okay.
But he's dead already, the baby.
Okay.
He cannot inherit for
He
half
can't
a brothers.
inherit from the mother.
He can't inherit, and he can't bequeath. Even if it's a mitzias.
He needs to have a live mother.
Yeah, the child has to be alive to be able to bequeath.
Well,
And
he
then
was alive
Makeba.
as an Uber because the mother died first.
Even if he was fully alive and he died, he cannot bequeath to half a brothers.
Only if he was born.
Only if he had a child, then it goes. Then he could, and he died. So then it goes to the children.
Well, that's okay. Now we know.
Okay, that's what we say. That's what he's bringing up. Eina ben Yedesh Asima Bakeva. The bain doesn't inherit the mother.
In other words, if the mother dies before he's born,
Yes.
he cannot be a Yoirish.
He cannot be a Yedesh. He died first. Even if he died first, right?
He died first. Zechanish.
And so you should say it should go to him. It should go to his
His
children. It'll go to, but to the half of brothers, it won't go to. Let's say the Uba.
You have to be
You go to the
Yasha,
father,
because the mother died already while he was in the womb.
And he died first. So
No, you think that he died first? Yeah.
he died first.
Yeah. So
Still,
how does he Yoirish?
Because if he had a son, here it's not shaykh. That's what he's saying. If he had a son, it would go to his son. But here it's not shaykh. Here he died before.
He's still an
before
Uber.
the mother.
What kind of son does he have?
Right. So that's what he's saying. It's not shaykh. The Matthias. Read over here. I'm saying Sheina ben Yerish Lesing Bakeva. Claim Alachim Misasei. Lahanch Laachim Shalom Minav. Bakeva cannot be manchel to half of brothers from the father.
Okay.
If it was a Matthias that he had a child, it's not shaykh. It would have gone to the child, but not to the half of brothers. That's the limit. It's not shaykh here. Afal pi shelagavi rusha shakrim madin hu shafim neiflin on the chosm yedesh lacham meisei. He says even if he would have inherited, right? It wouldn't yedesh hu aisim bakeva lein shechayzam arishim leyesh shalai. His own children it would be bequeathed, but not to half of brothers. Beirusha ben es imay. Ain't that what him came by a ben and his mother? It's not so.
Where you
Shayne
reading
Yesh-
from? Where you
from
reading
the
from?
Pnim.
Gemara?
Yeah, from the Pnim, he says it's the Rashbam. Shayne Yesh Yisrael kishan neif loy nechas b'chaya. Ach loy kashu k'mames. If he already died, then he cannot be bequeathed those nechasim after he died to the half of brothers. His own children yet. Here we're saying he wasn't even shaykh because he died before
Because
the mother, and there's no children.
Because the original comes with Mela, that's why it goes to his children first.
Yeah, but here his children, yeah, because it's a pasuk. We have a pasuk for it.
Yeah,
But over here,
It's not shaykh to.
it's not shaykh. There was no children there. It was a uba that died before the mother. It's not shaykh. In fact, should we say the Huma inspiration that he died first? We had a story with a Mu'bedes that died. Ufak it's lasa pekusei. And after the mother died, the Uba shook 3 times, was shaking 3 times.
What does that mean?
So that means that the child could die after the mother. You said that the child dies before the mother.
Oh, the child showed, the Uber showed life.
Right. It's not life. Mida the haba aznav halta. It's just like the tail of a lizard that you cut off and it moves around.
Do something when
Shema fareches.
I worked in the street there.
Yeah.
And after the shech, the
nerves
it
are
still moves like
flapping,
like,
right?
That's also, okay.
It's mamish.
But Alpha P Shekvayim Chais, it moves around, it says, even though there's no real life in it. So the mother, brings the story with Tinik ben Yoim Achot. We said is Neichel Manchel. So he says that Ma Bereida of Yosef Mishmei the Rava Amar Ma Bereida of Yosef in the name of Rava had said La'ilam. We could say Uba Zeicha in the Nechasim that fall to him be Yerusha. Even Berubares, that woman who was pregnant, that she died, right? And she died first. We'll say that the child dies after. We said that the Uba will be able to inherit it and be able to bequeath it to the Kravim. This Mishnah, where it says Shatini ben Yoima Nechol Manchel, is not talking about the regular Din Yerusha. You're right. He's kind of the Uba, is kind of, and he could be Manchel to the brothers. That's not what the Mishnah was talking about here. Here it was talking about that B'negeya Loimam to shed Memayit B'chelik B'chayra, to teach us that only a Tinik that's in the Avra Ilam could be Memayit from the Chelik B'chayra. V'davke ben Yom Echad, Aval Uba Loi. What does that mean? When a B'chayr has to get, a B'chayr gets a double portion. Let's say there were $12,000 left in the Yerusha, and there are two brothers left. So what do? You divide it in three, because you have to divide an extra portion for the B'chayr. So let's say it's 12,000, he gets 8,000, and the other brother gets 4,000. What's if there was, let's say, a Ben Yoimei, so a child that was in the Abar Ilam, so then the division is differently. Then 12,000 you divide it by 4. So you do 3, 6, 9, 12. So the B'chayr gets 6, and the other two brothers get 6 and 6. I mean 3 and 3. And if the Ben Yoimei dies, so he gets 1.5. Each one gets 1.5. So the one that gets 6,000, each one. If the that's not. No, the B'chayr already got his chelik.
Yeah.
Now, if one of the brothers died, so the two brothers inherit the 300, the 300 or 3,000. Each one gets 1.5. So instead of being 6,000, now he's going to have 7,500. Versus, if you wouldn't count the Ben Yoimei, right? Let's say it's a Uber we're not going to consider it as if he's in this world and divide it by 4. We're only going to divide it by 3. If it's a Uber, so he'll Chatchila get 4. If it's 12,000. Now there's 8 left. What's going to happen? The Uber is now going to be born. So you take the 8 and you divide it by 3. How much does it come out to be? You divide it by 3. So you have 8 is 2.5. 2 and 3, 3/3. No, 2 and 2/3.
3 into 8 is 2 times 6. It's
2 and 2/3.
Yeah,
Okay, 2 and 2/3. So that will make it to 8, right? So he inherited 3.
No, he inherited
4. I'm sorry, 4.
Yes,
Then he got himself 2 and 2/3. That's 6 and 2/3. Right?
he got 2 equals what? He's
Together
a
with
third?
the other 3, a third, right?
How many are that? There's 3.
3.
There's 3 brothers?
Yeah. Because
That
the
is
Uber now is born.
Yeah, so
2 and 2/3. And now the Uber dies, so you divide his 2 and 2/3 into half.
what about the 4 then?
1 and a third. What? The 4 he got the B'chayr.
As a part. Now he died though.
Who died? Not the
B'chayr.
B'chayr. The Uber died.
Okay.
The Uber came out.
They will come out and then
Came
he dies,
out
so
and
they have to
then
divide what he had.
So what did he have? Let's start again. He had 4 right away, because if the Uber is in the mother's stomach, we don't consider him as heir. So it's like 2 brothers.
This is like Rav Huna?
Yeah, no, this is the Braisa.
Yeah.
So there's $12,000. So we don't, and there's a Uber and 2 children. we don't consider the uber as nothing. We look at the 12,000 and they divide it by 3. And the bechayr gets 4. Now the uber is born.
Where's the part? The part's alive?
Yeah,
He's
he took them. He's one of the brothers.
He took, how much did he take?
4. There's 8 left. Because he knew the uber is going to be born in any minute. Now it's born. So the 8 that's left, you divide it by 3. 2 2/3 each.
How much was the part supposed to get?
Double of as if there was 2 brothers at the beginning. Not as if. There was 2 brothers at the beginning.
We don't count the Uber?
You don't count the Uber. Even if you pay for Uber, it's not going to help. Okay, I'm just saying. You don't count the Uber. If there's 12,000, so you have the guy, the Bechayr, you look at it together with the other person, that's all that's here. And you divide it in 3 parts.
Okay.
So he takes 4. The other 8, he has to wait for the Uber to come. The Uber comes out, now they divide it by 3.
Okay.
So he gets 2 2/3. So he's up to 6 2/3. Then the Uber dies. So we divide the 2 2/3 into half. It's 1 1/3. 1 1/3 with the 6 2/3 makes it to 8. So he says if you look at the Uber, it'll be the same as a Bechayr with 2 brothers. At the end, if the Uber dies, he gets the same amount of 8.
Yeah.
Right? But if you look at the Uber as if he's in this world, then he'll only get 7.5. Okay? Like we said before. So like the my time. What's talking the reason that when the babies are Uber, he doesn't get a chelik? I mean, he doesn't. We don't count him as one of the brothers.
Until he's
So
born.
the because by the it says v'yoldu loy amar Achmana. The lashon is v'yoldu loy banim. So when do we give him Pi Shnayim? Only according to the children that are born. Not if it's a Uber. Okay? Ma bereda have yes mishmei Rabba. Ma bereda have yes at son in the name of Rabba. Bein shenei l'lacha misas aldi. A son that was born after the death of the father. Anyone might bechelik abecheda. A child that was born after the father had died. So then we don't diminish in the chelik of the becheda because at the time when the father died, right?
He was what? He was an Uber.
He was a Uber.
He wasn't born yet.
He wasn't born yet. So therefore you don't exclude him faket. The becheda is getting more now. Because we make that vlad as if it's not here. Because the Uber is considered like it's not here. Because the chelik of the bechayr is divided according to the children that exist now. The yolda loy banim has to be in the aver ha'olam. The ben has to be in the ear of this world. My time, what's the reason? It says v'yolda loy amachmana. It says b'negeya to the bechayr pishnayim. It says v'yolda loy banim has
How
to
do
be
you know?
the
Maybe
children.
there's triplets and some. Maybe there's quintuplets.
That doesn't matter. We're talking about
Therefore,
the way we divide the double portion of a bechayr is only according to the children that exist in this world, not in the mother's stomach. Okay? Because it says v'yolda loy banim. V'haleika, and this child is a Uber. So therefore, we don't diminish in his bechayrshaft. We don't make his second portion smaller, because if there's more people, he gets a smaller portion. We said we don't. Okay, in Surah they learned differently, this way, like we learned. That was the pshat. But that was the chiddush of the Braisa. But from Medisa, Masna they learned differently. Very similar. Ma Bereda have yes mishmei Rabba. Ma Bereda have yes said in the name of Rabba. B'chayr shenoilad la'acha misas avi. A b'chayr that was born after the death of the father, that the father left a isha mu'beres, right? Either with twins or he left 2 women pregnant and they had given birth after he died. Einay noitel pishnayim. The bechayr doesn't take a double portion. My timer. What's the reason? Because Yaakov Rachmana. It has to be that when it says bechayr pishnayim, you have to be able to tell which one. Oh, yeah, it says yes. Yakir. The bechayr you have to recognize. In order, losses like pishnayim to be able to give him the
when
double
did the
portion.
other brothers come into being later on?
Later on, but the both brothers. But later the Yaakov, because this bechayr wasn't born until after the father died. and the father is not makir. If the father was alive, and even if the father doesn't know who was first, we say kol haroya lebila kibila dami. Since it's right to find out, so then the bechayr will get a double portion. But if the father is not alive, the father is dead, and it's not shaykh that he should be yakir, so then if it's not roya lebila, ain't bila, so it's bila me'akeves.
So there's no part of this family then?
What?
So there's no part of this family?
Not here, because they died after they were born after the father had died, and you don't have a yakir, and the Torah says b'feidish yakir. He says, "Atam shein aklam ma'ila lami shein ba'ilamo pnei shein la'adam yunis das misapekes lahakneis kasha makabel ein ma'ila." When the makabel is not in this world, ve'in makna mecholim l'chein toin Rabbi Yochanan shekasha makabel b'nei shal makna. No, this is something else. I'm sorry. Here he says, "Lo yitzarich sheyakir." Here he says, "Lo yitzarich." I'm saying the Rashbam. You don't need that the father should actually recognize the bechayr. Elafim lo ya'o miyamav yedishu p'nei shnayim. Even if he never saw him, this bechayr inherits a double portion. Kol shanela deregel lefnei misahav. Any child that was born before the death of the father, then he's a bechayr. Kein nilmad ba'akosel shehei bechayr ra'ui. Only has to be really fit to be able to recognize, even though he doesn't actually recognize. You don't need the actual yakir. It's really, if it's able, that's enough. Okay. The halacha is in all these lishaines, whether the lashon is talking about ubar, right? Whether we're talking about if the ubar is memayit from the portion of the bechayr, the halacha is that it's not, and whether the bechayr, if it was born after the misas ha'av, then he's not considered as bechayr. That he says the hamama b'rei daviyas mishmei derabah. These two neschayis are the halacha. That Uba is not going to be memayit mechelek b'chayra, only if it's a ben that's in this world. That child could only if it's in the avra ha'olam, then it could diminish from the portion of the b'chayr. Okay, b'chein ein b'chayr neitel pishnayim, only if it was born, if the b'chayr was born in the lifetime of the father. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Amazak l'uba lo'ikana. One who's mezaka to uba is not koina. So here he gives you a whole different reason. Why did Avona say you're not koina? Our Mishnah says that if a man said that if the child that my wife will give birth to is a zacha, the zacha is koina 100. If the child that will be born in the future is a daughter, I'll give 200. L'chayra, that's you are mezakeh to ubar. Says you want to hire with that shalom kregla. That's different. He says if it's his own child that he's talking about, his own child, he could be makneh to. If it's his own child, we say that he is goyma b'daitei, and he's makneh to him with his whole heart. If it's not his child, he won't be makneh with his whole heart, so he can't be mezakeh to uba that's not his own child. That's how he's being mechalik. That Mishnah is talking about his own child. There he could be mezakeh wholeheartedly. Amalei Shmuel Avchana. Shmuel said to Avchana Baghdad from the city of Baghdad. Puk Isali, so go out and bring me 10 people. And I want to say in front of them what the halacha is. Hamazak uba kana. The uba is going to be kana. The hilchasa hamazak uba lo kana. The halacha is the one who's mazak uba, he's not kana like Rabbi Yochanan. Only if it's, but of course we're talking about b'sham ubarim. But if it's his own son, then we'll say he is kaina. There was a story that one who said to his wife, he says, my nechasim should be given to the children that will be from you, even though she wasn't mu'benes, right? So the king is not chal at all. Shisha, Kashisha, the oldest son, came that was born from a different wife. Amalei, he says to the father, "Who gabra mai teheveh?" He spoke about himself. Me, the Bechayr, what's going to be with me? What's my?
You're giving you away to the other kid.
Yeah, Amalei. So he said, "Zilknei kechad mibra, go and be kinda chelek like one of these children that will be born."
What does that mean?
That means he's not going to get anything because they're not in this world. It's Adav Shloi Balayla. Zag
Just
Gemara.
like the other ones I'm not gonna get, he's not gonna get.
Yeah, he says Hanach Vadei Loikon. These the Bnei Isha that he was makna. He says I'm being makna to those children that will come from this woman. She's not even pregnant, so those for sure weren't kinda that kati lesno because she's not even pregnant with them at the time of the act. No. In the time of the kinyan, a person cannot be makna those leiva. Hi, but this Ben Hagadol who was in this world at the time when the father was makna is chulak l'talyam b'mkaim benaya. Maybe he has a chilek, meaning when the other children will be born, he'll be inheriting when the father dies. Will he take a bigger chilek at that time?
Because he's a par?
Yeah. Or less like chulak l'talyam b'mkaim benaya. Or we say he doesn't take a chilek when the father will die. When the father will die and leave over a Yerusha, he won't take a chilek in addition because of the matnasav. Meaning, I think we should leave this for tomorrow because it's a whole hamshach till the other side. We'll stop over here. And